I'm Sara Critchfield. I'm the managing editor of Upworthy.com. And as you can see, I am completely and totally inappropriately dressed for this talk. But if we were at the beach, I would be totally appropriately dressed, right? I might even be looking kind of good. So what's that about? Turns out that the way that you're making meaning out of what I'm wearing has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm wearing. It actually has to do with the context in which I'm wearing my outfit, right? Turns out that context matters a lot. And we see this over and over again in the way that humans make decisions and perceive things. So for instance, if you shoot a man in the middle of the street, you're a criminal. If you shoot a man in war, you're a hero. It's the exact same action. In a different context, it has a different meaning. So why am I bringing this up in the context of media? It's because we are increasingly consuming media in a huge variety of contexts, and that matters with how we make meaning out of the media. This is kind of like a meta talk. So I wanted to just use a quick example from my most beloved media source, New York Times. And when you go on the New York Times, you see that all of their articles make a lot of sense in the context of their homepage. Flawless journalism, great stories, interesting topics, people we can trust. And this is a typical New York Times Facebook post. It's a really interesting article about hunger. But what happens when you put it in the context of Facebook? Particularly, this is in the context of my Facebook feed. So all of a sudden, it looks really different, right? It's like this like ugly corporate logo, no offense, is competing with all these engaging photos of like my friends doing weird things and like this weird like nail project, and there's this ticker thing. And what about the text? How does it stack up? I'm just going to read this to you. It's going to be a hot and steamy Zumba class tonight. Business cards making me feel like a real boy since 10 minutes ago. I would read the shit out of this comic. And then this is what the New York Times comes in this context and says. He cites that 46 million Americans currently receive government assistance to buy food, though many more are eligible, and others turn into food banks, which have been hit hard by cutbacks. It's so strange, because when it was alone, it looked so interesting and engaging and like something I really wanted to read. But in the context of my feed, it looks a little bit boring, kind of dry. It just doesn't quite click. Context changes the interpretation of the media. So this is my fancy math, and if you agree with it, then I think that this really begs for a paradigm shift in the way that we present media, particularly in a social context. So number one, and this is really good for getting people in the door, looks matter. I know we don't like to say that, but looks matter. When you watch people shop, consumers, when they have a bunch of different choices, let's say in a grocery store, if they're looking at 30 different kinds of beverages, they're not turning around the beverages and looking at the ingredients, right? They're not, 98% of the people are scanning the shelves really quickly, picking out the beverage that looks like it's the one that they'll like the best. In running, and this is the same that they're doing for media. There's a ton of choices for what they can consume. They're not going to think about the ingredients first. So looks matter. You don't have to do anything to your content to make the outside look more appealing to your readers. Second, your primary audience is your reader's contacts, not your reader. This is like difficulty level high, and this is the key to virality right here. When you're in social space, you're not alone. It's not alone time. It's more like your big dysfunctional family's Thanksgiving. Everybody's there. Your coworkers are there. Your colleagues are there. Your people from high school that you want to impress are there. So if you want to get your things seen by not only your reader, but you want to incite them, help them to spread it, you're going to have to write for their friends also. Number three, you want to do media, but don't forget the social. It's not just like a catchy phrase, social media. It's actually the thing. Social is the thing. So I like to think about Facebook as a party. And if you're thinking of yourself at a party, you can talk about a lot of really serious things. You can talk about hunger at a party, but you wouldn't talk about it the way that Facebook post was written. You would be more informal. You would keep it light, make it a little bit more casual. So don't be this girl. Don't wear your beach wear to your news foo conference talk, because number one, you're going to be really cold. It's really, really cold. And number two, people aren't going to perceive your media the way that you mean to have it perceived based on the context. Thank you.